Welcome to big episode number 89 of the fourth season of the Fantasy Fullback Dive, brought to you by the good people at the Roto Street Journal, paving your way to fantasy glory, acting as your lead blocker this season and every season until hell freezes over, so you can hoist that fantasy trophy above your head. I'm your host, Nat the Truth Jones. With me, as always, fresh off from seeing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and also doing a great roundtable podcast with me last night, and then having a huge podcast guest yesterday. This guy has been in and out of the studio, mostly in. The Wolf of Roto Street himself. How you doing, Wolf?
Hey, all's good. I love it. It's good busy. It's the type of busy I would want every single day of my life to be filled with. It's been fantastic. It's only getting busier. It's that time, man. Training camps are all opening. Football's back. It's unreal. We just finally finished up our off-season Bible, doing a couple formatting things, but we're ready to release that. We got the daily draft wizards coming back next week. You know, everything's coming up RSJ right now. And as you mentioned, you alluded to, humongous guest in our next episode, the biggest possible guest we could ever imagine to land. So make sure you're tuning in next week as well. But yeah, it's been fantastic. I know we've been gone for a couple episodes, but we're coming back in a big way here. And like you mentioned, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, a nice little reprieve from the football for a little bit. You haven't seen it yet, right? It came out last night, so I can't imagine.
No, and my wife hates Quentin Tarantino, so it's not like I can be like, hey, sweetie, let's go see this movie.
I loved it. It was different than anything he does. I know you're a Quentin Tarantino fan too, so I'm sure you're going to like it. And I love Leo. Anything he's in is always gold, so
Leo's
I would highly recommend
great
it.
too. He's kind of one of those guys
better,
I almost like want to hate him and I can't. I mean, they're both just fantastic.
Yeah, there's some great scenes with both. Oh, it's great. So I would recommend that. But good movie, even better fantasy advice coming at you here today. And we've got a great agenda here today too.
We've got this is like you talked about the Bible. This agenda is like a real tome here that I'm going to be looking at.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go down. It's going to be a good time. We had, like I said, we just dropped the roundtable conversation this morning. A lot of people to manage on Skype, but still pretty good stuff.
Some kinks to work out. Sure, it was our first time trying it, but it's still a good quality content as always. Maybe a little delayed at times, but yeah, it was good. It was good.
It was good content. Check it out. You know, you're going to get to hear some of your RSJ favorites and also a couple guys you don't hear on the air as much. So definitely check it out. All right, we're going to dive right into the agenda because I got two kids downstairs that are, I can't see or hear, which seems like that's great, but it almost always means something terrible is happening. So we're going to go right in and we're going to talk news of the day. And we're going to start, of course, with this alleged Melvin Gordon holdout. I don't know. We talked about this on the roundtable a little bit. A lot of people pretty skeptical, but in hopes of a new contract or a trade, Melvin Gordon was absent for the start of training camp on Wednesday. Thoughts, Wolf?
Yeah, so we're going to go Melvin Gordon, Tyreek Hill, and then just to make sure everyone knows what this episode's about, the 10 biggest bargains in fantasy as well is coming at you as well.
Yeah, and if you're trying to win titles, by the way, it's all about the bargains.
And you got to get the bargains, yeah. And I did want to preview, too, right before we jump in. If you visit ffbdpod.com, that's our podcast homepage, and anytime you just put / in the episode number, so this was 89. So if you go to ffbdpod.com/89, that's where you can find all the videos, bonus content, and stuff we do for this. So wanted to pump that, but on to Melvin Gordon. In hopes of a new contract, he did not show up to training camp yesterday. He's already said he's going to hold out if he doesn't get a big raise or if he doesn't get traded. So that's huge. Melvin Gordon, my number 5 on my big board until this news broke. The guy is elite. He there's no doubt about it. He's been the RB7, RB5, RB8 in fantasy the last 3 years. He ranks second in touches and third in scrimmage yards and TDs over those 3 year span. Even though he's missed some time, very slippery, elusive runner, gets it done between the tackles, even though his line's not great. He was just a tackle-breaking beast last year, the highest grade when facing stacked boxes of any PFF runner. So this guy is fantastic. I know there's this kind of conception that running backs are replaceable. And the Chargers did go 4-0 without him last year, so there is some credence to that too. But whether or not that matters for fantasy, that's not the debate. It's that guy is a fantasy megastar. This is like Le'Veon Bell type of absent if he does miss time. So we got to take it very seriously. And right now, if I'm drafting, I'm probably not touching him. When I mentioned Bell right there, last year Melvin Gordon, when he talked about it, said, I do the same thing. I agree with what he's doing, and it's going to happen with me too if they don't get a new deal. And here we are. It's happening right now. which really sucks. So does he have the leverage? Does he not? We don't know. But right now, I'm not touching him. Hopefully he shows up, or hopefully he gets traded and we have some clarity come draft day. But for now, if I'm doing a best ball, if I'm doing anything like that, it's just there's so many talented running backs. I have him now like 50-ish or so on my big board. There is a point where I would obviously take that jump, but there's almost always somebody willing to take that jump ahead of me. So if he does miss time, let's play that kind of hypothetical. If he's not going to play, I would say, everyone's immediately vaulting to Austin Eckler. And then when he missed time, Eckler was that immediate workhorse, 17, 18, 17 touches in those first 3 games Melvin Gordon missed. He kind of operated as that clear lead back. But unfortunately, what happens with a lot of these smaller change of pace guys, his efficiency really dropped when he became that lead horse. Went down to 3.1 yards per carry and 3.9 yards per touch, as compared to this guy that was averaging, 5.0 yards a carry, 10 yards per reception, one of the only guys to ever do that on 200-plus touches. He was the 6th in running backs elusive grade, all that great stats, the yards per carry, 5.23, 7.62 yards per target, the 7th, and all that. So he had all these great efficiency metrics that then dropped when he became the lead guy. So I'd be a bit skeptical. Our huge guest, again, I'm not going to give the name away, but when he drops on Monday, he actually even said he thinks Justin Jackson would kind of take over that Melvin Gordon-style early down role. They're similar in size, although he's Jack's a little bit bigger, a little bit taller, stockier, handled that kind of every down work in his start better than Melvin Gordon had. So I kind of anticipate a bit of a committee if this ends up being an extended holdout. Let's hope it doesn't, because again, we want Melvin Gordon, we want those top 5 running back stats in our lineups. But if not, I would say Eckler, they've both risen significantly. Justin Jackson going in my round 8 range right now, Eckler going in my round 6. But if we knew Gordon wasn't showing up, I would say Eckler would have to become a 5th or so round running back, and Justin Jackson right up there in the 7th or so is how I approach that.
All right. Moving on to a little bit of, I don't know, this is kind of uncomfortable news, but it's definitely fantasy news that we need to talk about, and that's Tyreek Hill, who we've been alluding to for, months now. And he's not going to get suspended at all. Now, we were speculating, man, his career could be over. He could miss an entire season. He could miss 6 games. He could miss 4 games. How about 0? Nothing. He's not going to miss anything. And so, as kind of dirty and slimy and stuff as it makes me feel thinking about where do I draft this guy, this is a real heavyweight in fantasy, and this is a fantasy show, so we're going to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Tyreek Hill, he could be the wide receiver 1. If that happened, it's not like you'd be like, man, never saw that coming. Sure, you see it coming. It's totally possible. I imagine you at least have to have him in your top 5.
Oh yeah, he's my 4th receiver right now, 14 overall, and could he be number 1 receiver? Of course he could. He was last year. So this guy, is there a bigger fantasy wrecking ball that can just take your lineup and just destroy you if you're facing him, or just vault your team that you seem to have no chance up to a victory? There's no one that does that quite like Tyreek Hill. So the fact that he's not going to miss any time is insane. We kind of covered this thinking it was a 4-game suspension just a couple episodes back in 87, but now it's just even more so. Those positive gainers, Tyreek and Mahomes, and those negative losers, Watkins and Hardman, it's just a little bit more extreme in both directions now. Like I said, Tyreek Hill right around that first round, second round cusp for me. I always have, it's an interesting debate to me, what is the first chief you'd take? Because there's Kelsey, there's Hill, and then now Damien Williams is the clear lead back. Those 3 kind of are right in my 12 to 16 range altogether, and I keep constantly sorting which one I'm going to take. But
and then you got Mahomes as your undisputed top quarterback.
Exactly,
so,
of course.
There's a lot of Chief action up top.
Tons. If you can get Chiefs, you want to load up on those big offenses, as we always talk about in fantasy. But right now, Tyreek Hill is my favorite personal Chief, the one that I have the highest out of all those guys. Pat Mahomes regains that kind of own tier. Speaking of that guy, I had him kind of more lumped in with the Lux, the Baker Mayfields, without his top most explosive weapon. But now that he's going to have Tyreek Hill for a full season, there's no reason to expect this guy to be anything less than what he was last year. In fact, they add McCole Hardman and bring more 4.3 speed to that cannon arm. He could be even more dangerous, which is just crazy to me. So he regains his own tier. The negative, though, of course, is Sammy Watkins, who we were expecting to be kind of a top 5 upside style guy if he was that lead number 1 of God himself, Pat Mahomes. He would have been, a dominant type of target hog. Now it's 3rd, 4th on the target totem pole when you got Tyreek Hill, Damien Williams, Travis Kelce soaking him. He's going to have his big games, but it's going to be really tough to predict him. So outside of best ball, I'm not going to have much Sammy Watkins exposure. There's no more, no real upside to stomaching the huge injury risk that comes with him. And other than that, the whole offense benefits when you got a guy like Tyreek Hill, so more underneath room for Travis Kelce. A lot of people saying he's going to get a huge target bump if Hill's out there. I rather have Hill there for Kelce. You get more scoring chances, more underneath room to roam. Same with Damien Williams. I like that the field is being stretched even more when you have Tyreek Hill. So as much as I hate that he's getting 0 games, I completely disagree. That entire offense takes a huge step forward when you got its most explosive playmaker out there. And fantasy, you got to obviously adjust your rankings for this guy.
Yeah, I don't feel good about it, but he's my number one chief too.
You see a lot of these where people are like, I could never draft him because I'd never want to root for the guy. Are you in that train, or are you able to separate yourself from that kind of fantasy versus humanity type of thing?
All right, so first of all, I understand that sentiment. It's not like I don't get it. I really do. And I think it's not like there are people that I absolutely would not draft, although I feel like there's been somebody in the past that maybe I said that about. I'm not sure. But I think with me, it more comes down to if there's someone I feel that way about, I probably won't end up getting them because it's probably like if I'm on the fence and it's them and somebody else, I would probably take the other person and then someone else would snap that guy up. So I generally don't end up with people that just disgust me personally on my team, but I don't think it's as strong as just like, no, I won't touch that guy because my convictions are what they are. I don't know. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm the same boat. I mean, if I'm not taking him, my opponent's going to be taking him. I'm going to be facing him. So you just got to, I'm giving fantasy advice, not moral advice. Right. I'm not talking about ethics here. Like it's
Our moral advice show is on Wednesdays. We do a show just about morals and ethics and just how you should be living your lives because we're definitely qualified to tell you how to do that.
Exactly. Yeah, us trash bag humans aren't going to be giving moral advice anytime soon.
I know. The show actually is called Trash Bags.
Trash Bag Moral Advice featuring the Truth and Wolf.
Truth in the Wolf.
We should do that. That'd be a great show.
I would absolutely subscribe to that.
We'd get our usual Link Clegg, Scott Brooks, Steve Phil, Jordan. They'd all tune in. Our usual Wolfpack guys. Yeah. No, but at the end of the day, you just got to try to separate the two and just root. If you're not rooting for the player, root for fantasy points and kind of separate them in your head or whatever you have to do to justify it. Like at the end of the day, people do that with their favorite teams. I can't draft Peyton Manning because I'm a Patriots fan.
No, I don't do anything like that.
You can't limit your talent pool for any reason, and I know it's scummy, but if somebody else is putting him against you if you don't take him. So just think about his fantasy points and not the player and the off-field pass. Yeah, it's a whole different field and a whole different game.
All right, we're going to talk 10 bargains here. Hopefully we'll get to all 10. That is our featured segment. We're going to, like I said at the outset of the show, if you're trying to win a fantasy league, it's all about getting bargains. I mean, if you can land somebody in an auction for $2 or $3 that ends up being like a viable producer or even a star, I mean, that's just such an edge to get over the guys that are spending, 10 times that amount, 20 times that amount to get their guys that are producing like that. So these guys are people that the Wolf likes more than the experts, generally speaking, sometimes a little, sometimes a lot. But listen to these things because this could be like, I'm going to get him around sooner. Or I'm going to take him around later than he should be taken. I'm going to score on this thing. So listen up. This is always one of the podcasts that I find the most informative and that I use to shape my own drafts a lot. Sometimes we're on the same page, sometimes we're not.
And just as one preface with that too, Nat, these aren't guys going after 100. That's where you'll find like the biggest disparity where I'm like
penny stocks.
Plus 70 on Donta Foreman and Dante Moncrief and blah, blah, blah. Those are penny stocks. That's going to be a separate episode. These are guys within the top 100 that I'm at least 10 spots, often 20 or more spots higher on. And the reason we show these ADP outliers is like I follow my own ranking, so this is exactly how I would draft too, but I want it to be so vivid to you that like I'm that much higher on this guy. So this is entering training camp. Of course, later on these might change as training camp develops. Last year, entering training camp, we had McCaffrey as an overprice. We saw that, holy shit, Nerve Turner is actually going to give this guy 30 touches a game. He wasn't bullshitting us, and he became, a bargain by the end of it. So things can change. This list isn't set in stone, but right now when I look at entering training camp, who's the best I need to get based on their prices, I got 10 guys that I think are ridiculously underpriced for what they bring to the table.
All right, let's start with number 1, Chiefs running backs. We're talking about Damien Williams, who's going 12th overall, according to the Wolf, and that's 12 spots higher than the experts, 9 higher than ADP. Carlos Hyde, Wolf's got him at 94. That's 49 spots above the experts, 30 above ADP. We've already talked a little bit about that explosive Chiefs offense. Anything you want to add on these guys?
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. That fantasy stock formula, two of the biggest grading factors are scheme and surrounding talent. A lot of people talk only about individual talent and volume. Are they going to see work? Are they good? And that's obviously the two biggest factors, but when you put in this other part of it, there's no doubt this is one of the most valuable running back gigs in all of football. The Chiefs' offense couldn't be more explosive last year. 35.3 points per game, the third most in NFL history. Tyreek Hill back out there, so it's going to be just as explosive as last year, a running back goldmine because of that, and the fact that Andy Reid has notoriously ridden workhorses to the fullest. Kareem Hunt leading the league in rushing in 2017. Yeah, Brian West. There's literally every single year his RB1 has averaged 20.8 touches per game, which is just gold. And the reason we now have Damien Williams on here again, if you've been listening to this podcast since February, we've been talking about how this guy has been severely undervalued. People have finally woken up, but the biggest new news is Andy Reid himself has come out and said they want Damien Williams to be the full-time starter for the year. We've heard it from their GM. We've heard it from, players and whatnot. But to hear Andy Reid say that is huge. Last year, Damien Williams rode this valuable gig to 22 fantasy points per game, 10 touchdowns in 6 weeks, and they really leaned on him down the stretch. So whether or not you believe he's great or not, he's in this incredible gig. He's going to see 20 or so touches, and he's going to be a bona fide RB1. So I still have him 12 spots higher than the experts. I have him at 12 overall, a fringe first rounder. Most people have him kind of going a fringe second or to the end of the third, that kind of turn.
Nah.
I think he's got to be much more of the first, second turn than the second, third. And then Carlos Hyde, that's more penny stock type of range. But if anything happened to Williams, or if he does end up faltering and not being as good as we think he's going to be, you're getting this guy that could be a top 5 running back because of the gig in Carlos Hyde at pick 150. It's a no-brainer. You got to stash that guy. You got to own the entire backfield because of how valuable the gig is. But I truly believe it's going to be Williams, and I think he's going to be a monster this year.
All right, here's a guy at number 2, Derrick Henry, that has just been fucking with us for like 3 or 4 years.
I know. It's about time, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's about time. It's not like he's done it. It's not. You're back in again. Huh? Yep. You're going to the well again. Derrick Henry, 23rd overall. So like late second round, we're talking about. 17 spots above the experts, 8 better than the average draft position that's out there. Derrick Henry, sell me on him this year. You've been selling him every year I've ever known you pretty well. Ever known you as a fantasy guy.
I know, it's truly the Brokeback Mountain. I can't quit you, Derrick Henry. Like, I can't get away from him because he's fucking...
Hey, you're not going up there to fish.
Exactly. 6'4", like 250, and just moves like a beast. I think what it really is those first couple years, he really did just run soft, and I'll admit it, as a Derrick Henry truther, I would watch him play, like, where's the guy we saw at Alabama for so much that was just literally steamrolling people? It's just not translating in the NFL. He's not running as hard. And then it just kind of...
You threw the Von Miller... combine stats at me several times a year for the last 3 years. Every time,
but it's true. Like, Von Miller as a running back was what the measurables were, which is insane to imagine. But for whatever reason, whether it was DeMarco Murray, then it was Dion Lewis for a bit last year, they kind of straddled this guy into a committee. And Nick Saban, the Alabama coach that fed this guy, the first running back he's really fed in over like a decade. It's almost always been a committee every year. He came out and said, this is a guy that needs the carries. The more he gets it, the better he runs. And this was in an interview just 3 days ago. I don't know what it is, if it's a confidence thing. I don't know if it's because he's so big, strong, and physical that he wears the other guys down. I can't explain it, but the more he played, the better he got. And it's kind of hard to explain. And that, again, the only guy, Nick Saban, one of the most brilliant football minds, just decided to ride and run. And then it comes to dawn on you, holy shit, this guy is just, he needs those 20 carries to batter the defense, because after, the stats then justify it. 1 to 10 touches per game. Those first 10 touches, he was in the bottom 20 of yards per carry. But then afterwards, 11 through 20, he averaged 6.1 yards per carry, which was the highest in the league for after 10 or so touches. So that's just kind of the stats that illustrate this guy is better when he gets volume. But is he going to actually finally get the volume? Every single thing points to that direction. We got Mike Vrabel saying, this guy is the guy we're going to build around. The whole plan starts with this. If Derek did what he does at the end of the last year, we're certainly going to go give him his opportunities. Then Arthur Arthur Smith, the new OC, comes out and says, we're going to ride him in his contract year. This guy's got a rare skill set, a home run hitter. He's going to take that next step. What he did over those last 5 weeks will open a lot of things up for this entire offense. And speaking of those last 5 weeks, the dude rushes for 585 yards and 7 touches on 87 carries. It's 21.8 carries, 150 yards, and 1.8 touchdowns per game. The number one fantasy with over 30 points per game over those last 5 weeks of the year. So this guy finally got fed. He produced as best as you could ever expect, the better than any other running back in fantasy during that span. And now everyone's come out and said, we're going to ride this guy that way for the entire season. I get it. The offense could suck. Arthur Smith, no guarantees, a first-year play caller. I get that Marcus Mariota, I've already talked about how much I think he's a bust and I think he sucks and he can't stay on the field. And when he's on there, he can't be productive. Even still, when they ride Henry, they've had huge success. The defense is stifling. The offensive line, yes, they're losing Taylor Lewan, which was some breaking news just a couple days ago. Their best lineman for 4 games over suspension, but their backup left tackle is the best in the league. Dennis Kelly was just 1 point below Taylor Lewan in the PFF grades over 350 snaps last year. So they have that luxury that they have actually a very capable backup. So I'm not overly concerned, especially after you add Roger Saffold, the best guard in the game, especially run blocking wise. Everything's just adding up to a great line, a stifling defense, and they just want to feed and win ugly, giving this guy 20 carries a game. When he gets 20 carries, he always dominates, and I'm stoked because I think he's going to finally get it.
All right. Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed because you're convinced me again, and I've definitely taken a chance on this guy before and regretted it. So we'll see what happens.
The best part, dude, is he comes at the end of round 3. So it's like you could already have 1 running back and 1 secure target hog, or even 2 running backs and go horse, and then get your flex as Derrick Henry. It's not like you have to have this guy as your number 1. I get it. If he's your number 1, I'd be a little scared too. But as your second or even your third option, like come on, that's just steal.
Yeah, you would hope so.
Yeah.
All right, another guy that I like and you also like, Philip Lindsay, Broncos running back, 36 overall. You got him 16 spots higher than the experts, 8 spots higher than his average draft position. Sell us on Philip Lindsay and an offense that really seems like it's going to be pretty underwhelming, at least as far as the pieces it's bringing to the table. But this guy really impressed all last year.
Oh, he's unbelievable. 1,278 total yards and 10 TDs as an undrafted free agent rookie is pretty much unheard of, especially these days. So it's just, one, we already saw the talent, and it's insane. But I think as underwhelming as the pieces around this guy are, Joe Flacco, gross receiver core, just all over the place, I really like the new offensive coordinator, Rich Scangarello. We talked about him just a couple podcasts ago, ffbdpod.com/87 if you haven't heard that. He's a Shanahan disciple. And what I love about Shanahan is that zone blocking scheme, which I think Lindsay, you watch this guy run, he's got the patience, and then he just zips so fast. The acceleration is rapid fire, like toy soldier feet. He's flying up the field. It just fits this blocking scheme to absolute perfection. So the fact that he did what he did last year in a blocking scheme that wasn't quite fit to his strengths, and now is going to get into that Gary Kubiak Shanahan scheme where it's been insane, the running back stats that have been produced in this. I absolutely love Lindsay, and I think he's going to bring an insane amount of upside to the table. The fact that he falls to round 4 or 5, I think a lot of people think Royce Freeman's going to be a little bit more involved or what have you. Well, again, Lindsay averaged 6.02 yards per carry on the outside zone and 5.04 in the inside zone game that they're going to start dominating and peppering, where Royce Freeman averaged under 4 yards per carry on both type of zone runs. He's a much better fit for what they're going to try to do. He's healthy. He was taking the first reps at camp already, which is a great sign. And the last piece to love about this guy, great pass catcher. This offense is predicated on screens and merging and marrying the run and pass games with that zone blocking scheme. Well, Joe Flacco, over the last 3 seasons, he's targeted his running backs on 25% of the throws. That's the 4th highest rate behind only Breeze, Brady, and Trubisky. So it's insane. His running backs have ranked 7th, 1st, 7th, 3rd, 8th, 9th, 13th, 5th, 2nd, 4th, and 9th. So pretty much almost all top 10 finishes in running back targets every year, and he's a much better pass catcher than Royce Freeman. So between the passing game volume, between the perfect zone blocking scheme to fit Lindsay, I think he's even in a better situation than he was last year when he exploded. He's going to put up better stats than he did last year, and you're still going to be able to get him in rounds 4 or 5 because he's a little guy. He's too small. He's too fragile. He's a beast. He's a tough little prick. He's going to kill it.
All right, David Montgomery. This is a guy whose career trajectory has been fascinating to me. And anyway, he's got workhorse potential, right? I mean, you've got him going 38 overall, 21 spots higher than the experts, 14 higher than ADP. I mean, obviously, people are playing under Nagy. but you like him even more than most. What do you think about Montgomery?
Yeah, you brought up Nagy, and Nagy just loves those 3-down horses, the Andy Reid-style disciple, and he didn't have that with Jordan Howard last year. We saw more of a committee, and Tariq Cohen isn't going anywhere. We'll start out right now. He's going to still have a role, but they like to split him out wide and whatnot. They like a true 3-down back to be unpredictable, to not be able to you can disguise what you're going to do. Jordan Howard, when he came in, you knew he was going to run it. Last year, they ran it 55% of the time when he was on the field, which was second most rate, and only 37% of the time when Tariq Cohen was in there, the fourth lowest. So it was very clear what they were going to do when you had Jordan Howard versus Tariq Cohen in. But David Montgomery is a fantastic pass catcher. Every report out OTAs was this guy's dominating. He's a problem for defense. He was the most impressive player on the field. All the beat writers are like a natural pass catcher, stabbing it away from his body. Great route running, problem for the defense. All the quotes coming out there just so juicy and getting you just excited for him as a pass catcher. But what I really love is his skills as a runner. It's the contact balance. It's the inside zone scheme vision. It's all that stuff that Nagy just loves and thrives and seeks out. That's why he went out and got Kareem Hunt, who had the same exact college running back coach as David Montgomery, and David Montgomery's running back coach said, yeah, of course they're extremely similar. That's why Nagy recruited him. But I think David Montgomery, the sky's the limit. He has even more upside than Kareem Hunt. So if Kareem Hunt can lead the league in rushing as a rookie under Matt Nagy and get peppered with the volume he did, I don't see any reason why Montgomery can't either. So you're looking at 270 to 300 touches in a top 10 offensive last year. That might take another step forward in the second season of Nagy and Trubisky's show. I love everything about that. The fact that he goes 20 spots lower than what I'd have him, and I have him right at that tail of the third round, 38 overall. You can get him at 60. That's like, what, the end of the fifth round? Are you kidding me?
I know.
I imagine in the preseason that's going to skyrocket as people realize, holy shit, this guy's a horse. But for now, take advantage of this discount as long as you can, because that's insane to me.
All right, here's a guy I really like, and I actually drafted in the RSJ mock draft.
You got him as a steal, too. Oh, my God.
He was the third in my stable. I mean, you guys gave me all this hell for Peyton
Barber. And like the fifth round, I want to say, too,
Barber
right?
was like my fifth back, because I had this guy as my third back. So I actually felt all right about it, even though maybe I reached. Chris Carson, 40 overall for you. That's 20 spots higher than I can't believe the experts have him at 60. That just seems insane to me. 9 spots higher than ADP. I mean, taking Chris Carson in the 60th pick, that's the last pick of the fifth round, first pick of the sixth round, something like that. This is a guy that could be a legit workhorse back.
I mean, he was a legit workhorse back.
Yeah, he could be again.
And I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. In fact, his situation's only gotten rosier in this offseason. It's only improved. Last year, he had the 7th most rush attempts, 5th most rush yards, 1,151, 9 scores, 7th most touchdowns across 14 games played. He was a monster all last year, and especially a monster over those last few weeks. He came back in Week 11 from a 2-week absence. He was the running back 5 in fantasy, the 5th best running back over that span. And now Mike Davis, 170 touches removed, so there's even more volume available. But what's so amazing, I don't get it, 700 total yards removed too. It's the ground pie here. It's the most run-heavy offense in the league last year. Maybe this year the Ravens will threaten that because they have Lamar Jackson under center all year. But this was the only team last year that ran it more than they passed it. 48 pass to 52% run ratio. 534 total attempts per over the season. That's 33.4 per game. That's second in the league. And 2,560 yards on the ground. That's 160 yards per game rushing-wise. That's first in the league.
Hey, stop for a second.
Yeah.
You just cut out. So
okay.
Hold on. Let me play back what we have, because you just cut out. It wasn't like garbled. You cut out for like a full 5 seconds.
Oh, okay.
So hold on just a second.
Sure.
I just want to see what you were talking about, so you can try to pick up right where you left off.
It might have been like the ground pie. I think I just started talking about ground pie.
I want to see if I can get a good breaking spot.
Yeah. Last year that ran it more than they passed it. 48 pass to 52% run ratio. 534 total attempts per over the season.
That's what you cut off.
Okay, so 30.
Why don't you start with they're the only team last year that ran the ball more than they passed it?
Okay.
So
I'll start with I
can just fit it right in where you said that. Then.
Okay.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, they're the only team in the league that ran it more than they passed it. 48 to 52 pass to run ratio, highest in the league. The Ravens may threaten that this year, sure, but they're still going to be as runny heavy as ever. 534 attempts over the season. That's 33.4 per game. That's ridiculous. So 33 touches up for grabs with these running backs. And again, one part of that equation was removed. 2,560 yards of rushing over the course of the season. That's 160 yards per game. That's an insane ground pie. This is the guy that's going to have the first crack, the highest slice of this ground pie. It's a delicious ground pie too, because it's a Russell Wilson-led offense, so you know they're converting for third downs, they're moving the chains, they're getting into the red zone. So a strong overall offense that leans on the run. Schottenheimer's already said, we're not apologizing for the style of game we play. We're going to continue to pound the rock over and over. So sure, Rashad Penny is emerging. They're saying he's in great shape, he's looking awesome, but he's already the 1B. So I mean, it's a 1A, 1B situation, so people are getting scared and they hear those quotes. When it's a 1A, 1B situation and there's 35 touches per game up for grabs, it doesn't matter that's a committee. It's one of those Saint-style things a couple years ago when you had like the running back 3, running back 5. There are committees that can work, and when there's so much ground pie available, this is one of them. The guy's an absolute tank. I mean, the most jacked guy in the league, I would say, getting the most work in the run-heaviest offense in the league, and he's a good talent. He's a physical bruiser. Yeah, there's some injury concerns. I get it. But at the end of the day, and the early training camp reports, the guy's caught a bunch of dump-offs yesterday, was more involved in the passing game, first guy in, taking the first team reps, ripping through the defense. He's fully healthy now, rave reviews, everything's looking good. Chris Carson at 60 overall, the bottom of the 5th round, is an unbelievable steal. You're talking about an RB1 potential upside in round 5, and it's insane to me.
All right, this is a part that's going to be interesting. We're getting down to the end of our bargain list, but I love this because the next couple guys we're going to talk about are all part of the same system.
Yep.
The oft referred to air raid offense that you know Kingsbury has come in and is going to be supposedly putting in with Arizona. They've got Kyler Murray now running the show. They've of course got these young, exciting receiver in Christian Kirk. They've got David Johnson out of the backfield, who was just, fantasy god 2 years ago or 3 years ago or whatever. So what are your thoughts on the air raid? We can cover a couple of the guys on the list just in this section.
Yeah. 6, 7, 8 are all going to be part of this Cardinals offense because the general point I want to make before we dig specifically into the air raid is some of the biggest bargains in fantasy every year come because of a coaching change. We saw it 2 years ago where the Rams went literally worst to first in terms of total scoring and yardage. They went from 4,203 yards to 5,784 yards, over 100 yards more per game.
You will never see a more dramatic change than that. How long you watch football for, I don't think we'll ever see that.
Unbelievable. Again. 224 total points to 478 total points. More than double the total points they put up in a single season. So yes, we might not see anything that dramatic. Last year there wasn't anything as huge, but the Bears went 28th to 9th. The Colts went 30th to 8th. So we had a couple other big dramatic switches too, and a ton of it is a better scheme. And I think no one is set up for a more dramatic shift than the Cardinals, conveniently averaging just 14 points per game last year, dead last in the league, just pathetic. They really too could truly double that total, if not even more, with this Cliff Kingsbury air raid. Of course, it's an unknown. We don't know what's going to happen, and is it going to actually work? Is Kyler Murray too short? There's tons of questions, but I have faith, especially after talking to our guy Drew Hollingshead. I still think one of the must-listen interviews of this offseason. It's the unique type of content no one else has. You got to listen to that. He played under Kingsbury, raved about the guy, talked about how much of an offensive genius this guy is, and the stats back it up. 550 yards and nearly 42 points per game as a college coordinator. I get it. This is the NFL. The speed is different. There's different styles of plays. It might not pan out, but ultimately, if it does, and I think it will, it's going to be as dramatic as a shift. So that's kind of the general picture of coaching changes and the impact it can have. Now, who are the 3 players that you got to target in there? Well, number one's the engineer of the air raid. That's Kyler Murray. I have him at 80 overall, QB7, above Drew Brees, above Carson Wentz, above some guys like that, because I think he is going to absolutely explode. I've said this multiple times on the podcast. I think he's that 2019 like Mahomes, the guy you can get in round 10 that has everything set up for him. Individual talent-wise, his arm is unbelievable. He drops gorgeous balls all over the field, deep balls, intermediate. He can make the throws, but what's really exciting is the legs. So you can run. He's got 4.3 wheels, ran for 1,000 yards and 15 scores in college last year. So you got all these running quarterbacks like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson making waves because of just their legs. When you combine the arm and the leg points, and then you go out and draft, Andy Isabella, Hakeem Butler, just more and more speed to a cast that already featured my next two guys we're going to talk about, Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald. It's a stacked weapons cabinet. You got all the individual talent you need. You got plenty of usage because the pace of this offense is going to be rapid fire. They said they want to run 90 plays a game, which is absolutely insane. I don't think they'll hit that number, but they're going to be flying up and down the field. He's going to chuck it about 50 times a game, which is unbelievable volume. Probably more pass attempts than anybody in the league coming for the Arizona Air Raid here. You got the scheme that he thrived in college. The reason he was the Heisman and the number one overall pick, he was in this air raid offense at Oklahoma, and he dominated. Cliff Kingsbury said, I'm going to draft this guy number one overall if I ever had the chance. He stayed true to his word. It's kind of like a perfect marriage. All the stars, you just see these things that are almost fatalistic. It's like that everything is aligning for this guy to explode. So Kyler Murray, I absolutely love him. Are you buying the hype? Do you think he's going to be as real as I think he's going to be?
As real, no. I mean, but that's kind of the nature of our, respective fantasy personalities. Like I see everything you're saying. I love the air raid potential, and I'm pulling for him. Yeah. I don't think that he is as obvious superstar like you're talking about as I've seen. I don't know, and I could be proven wrong. And if I'm proven wrong, then I'll almost be happy that I am. And it's not like I don't think he's going to be good. I just don't think I would put him as high as you do. I don't think I would reach for him there. On these things, when people are coming out like this, you tend to be in on the ground floor. I tend to be in on like the second floor because I was listening to you. So, yeah. No, I mean, it's not like I think anything you're saying is wrong. I'm a real, I got to see it to believe it type guy. Now, I will say last year I felt differently about Mahomes. I was like, man, this guy's going to light it up. But I think the biggest difference there wasn't specifically the level of talent I saw from Mahomes, which, in retrospect, it's like, yeah, man, this guy's just dripping talent out of every orifice of his body. It was much more the offense that I knew Mahomes was coming into.
Yeah.
I looked at this offense of the Chiefs, and I was like, man, Alex Smith is just lighting up the world in this offense. Look at this guy. I can't see any way they're going to be worse than this, and they're probably going to be way better. So that's why I was willing to commit to Mahomes the way that you were last year, a little more than I am with Murray. I'm just skeptical of shitty franchises all of a sudden becoming great, even though we've seen it before.
Yeah, I think it's a huge point. We've already seen Andy Reid's offense succeed for so many years, so you already had that box checked where we don't know if Cliff Kingsbury's air raid is going to translate. That's the bet on that actually happening. We don't know that that's guaranteed, so that's a good point. And we did see a Week 17 performance from Mahomes the year before as a rookie where he came in, led a ballsy comeback against the Broncos. We had Chris Clark on after for the Locked On Chiefs and said, this guy made throws I've never seen a quarterback make. So we had seen him do it on the NFL field, no matter how brief, which we don't have that benefit quite yet with Kyler Murray. That's why the preseason is going to be pretty exciting to watch. They take the world by storm, and I don't imagine they'll show their biggest wrinkles in the preseason. No one ever does. But if they come out and they just rifle down the field the first drive of the game and just like, all right, this is actually working, that would be a beautiful sight to see. In terms of if I believe in Murray, that means I probably believe in all his weapons too. Obviously, David Johnson is unbelievable. He can't be considered a bargain, though. He's going so high, but I'd take him at number 5 overall, no questions asked at this point. But Christian Kirk, I have at 58 overall, 23 spots higher than the experts, 25 higher than his ADP. And then Larry Fitzgerald, old man Fitz, 76 overall, 19 on the expert, 19 spots higher than the experts, 26 spots higher than the ECR. I don't know who's going to be the number one out of these guys. Kirk's definitely the better athlete at these stages of his career. He has experience in the air raid offense. He does all the routes well. He can be moved inside. He can be moved outside. That type of versatility is going to lead to great things. And Kirk's already been, quote unquote, the best receiver on the roster throughout the spring and training camp. So he's the guy I'm highest on, and I think has the highest ceiling. But I think Larry Fitz, you just never count that guy out. A reliable pair of hands, knows how to find soft spots in the defense. And this offense is all about just kind of creating space and feeling out the defense and kind of improvising when you need to. When you got a wily, crafty veteran and route runner like Larry Fitz, he's going to make some serious damage here in this offense. So the fact that you can get him around pick 100. Both these guys have 1,000-yard upside. I wouldn't be surprised if both of them do top 1,000 yards. It's not one of those things where it's going to be one or the other. There could be so much aerial pie here and so much valuable aerial pie here that I see both of them potentially being viable options. And I often find myself having both of them on my teams after I do best ball drafts. So I love both of them. I love Kyler Murray, and I'm just kind of declaring it. I'm all in on the air raid offense, and I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if I'm all in, but I can't wait to see what happens. And, if they blow up the way we say, I'll be sure to tell everyone, our guy at RSJ
I was right
said it.
there with you.
No. I mean, I'll say I was right there. Just like Duck last night telling us all the organizations he's in on the ground.
But I know, right? Yeah, exactly. Star was there when you started. It's nice. Yeah, plant your seeds, Duck.
Seriously, he's got a wide range of ground floors that he's on, and eventually he's probably going to be in the top floor of one of those places. Hopefully, it's ours.
I think the best part, I hope so too, and it will be ours eventually. I can't wait. But I do think one thing that is the nice part about this is, yes, it's unproven, but that risk is baked into the prices here. You can get all these guys around 8 through 10. It's like, what's the point to not take him at that point? Take Kyler Murray round 8, and then take Philip Rivers 2 rounds later, and you're going to have a good starting quarterback because Rivers just always falls to round 12, and he's always going to throw for 4,500 and 25, 30 TDs. It's not sexy, but you have that. So get your floor, then get Kyler Murray. That's kind of what I did last year. Mahomes and Rivers. I never started Rivers a single game. I don't think I'm going to start Rivers a single game this year either, but to know I have that. There was a couple years ago I had like Tannehill and Eli Manning and thought they were both going to be breakouts, and they both fucking sucked. So you can't do Josh Allen and Kyler Murray and then have them both suck. You should never
tell anybody that again.
Oh, that was before we did the site. That was like I was gonna 7 years ago.
One thing I would have always told you were an idiot on is Eli Manning.
Oh, horrible. Yeah. No, he sucks. And both of those guys, just Ryan Tannehill and Eli Manning. I can't believe that actually came out of my mouth. Now I'm like thinking back what I just said. It was horrible. That was like 7 years ago, definitely before we ever did a site or anything like that. But it just illustrates like you can't take two guys that you think are breakouts but have no floor really, because then you could end up fucking yourself at quarterback. But if you go Kyler Murray, Philly Rivers, you're going to have at least one good quarterback out of that bunch, and I really think you get the most explosive player in the draft this year.
All right, let's talk about Jared Cook. This is a guy that, everybody's been chasing the next Jimmy Graham.
Yeah.
Remember when Jimmy Graham was awesome? I do.
Oh, my God.
I remember when we were working together, actually, when Jimmy Graham got traded to the Seahawks, and we both were just like, that's not even fair, man. He's so great. This is going to be ridiculous. It's like he's better than Gronk. Next Jimmy Graham in New Orleans. All right, well, we've seen a couple candidates that have come through the years. Kobe Fleener, Josh Hill, and as we referred to him many times, Ben Watson's corpse. So how about Jared Cook?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think out of all those names you just listed, none of them are inspiring and they're all garbage. Jared Cook is the real best shot at actually finding that next Jimmy Graham.
We should make a T-shirt. We should Jared Cook. Better than the corpse of Ben Watson.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think that would be a real popular seller there. Everyone down at the beach wants their tank top, Jared Cook. But I have him at 63 overall, which is almost 20 spots higher than the ECR, a full round higher than his ADP right now, because I think he could be that next great tight end, and he's not being priced that way. I love O.J. Howard. He's probably the guy I end up with most at tight end, but you do have to invest a 5th round pick. So if I can go 7th round and get a guy like Jared Cook, if I miss out on Howard, that's often what I find myself doing. This guy set career highs in targets with 101, receptions 68, yards with 896, and TDs with 6 all last year with the fucking Oakland Raiders with Derek Carr throwing him the ball. I get it. He was like the highest target vacuum there because they had no one else to throw to. But still, even as like the third here behind Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, that situation in New Orleans is so much better. Obviously, 1 is Drew Brees, an unbelievable quarterback. 2, Sean Payton, who schemes the best type of volume for his tight ends, gets his team into the red zone where he's going to be an absolute terror. And it's already starting to translate on the field. We already have Drew Brees kind of raving. He's got great length. He gives you that confidence on 50-50 balls. There's not a place you can't throw it, and this guy can't go get it over the defense. So that 50-50 trust ball is incredible, and that's where Cook 6'5", ran a rumored 4.3 40, which is just who knows if that actually happened or not, but a 40-inch vertical as well. That's those red zone tires. That's the Jimmy Graham style athleticism that when you got a guy like Brees puts the ball wherever he wants it, you got a guy built like this that can get the ball wherever it is over anybody else out there. That's always fantasy magic. They've already said we're dusting off the old Jimmy Graham plays. Dan Campbell said he's just phenomenal, runs like the wind, the tight end coach there. Sean Payton said he's great after the catch as well, so it's not just a jump ball guy, it's a guy they can put in the screen game and whatnot. Everybody that's important, Breeze, the tight end coach, the head coach, has raved about how great this guy has looked, and there's just still, yes, I get he's not going to be that number one alpha like he was with the Raiders, but this type of volume I think is going to be so much better. So I like Jared Cook to maybe not be Jimmy Graham where he was 1,300 yards and 15 touchdowns, but I think 810 is certainly plausible for this guy.
All right, last guy, Latavius Murray.
We got one more after him.
Okay, so we're going.
If we have the time for it, I got two more.
We got time as long as you're not going to be too long-winded on right? Latavius Murray. And I agree he's a bargain, but he doesn't deserve that much airtime. He's Latavius Murray.
I don't think you're right here because
you don't think I'm right?
Murray,
he's not Latavius Murray?
He is. His name is Latavius Murray, okay, and I agree with you. He's nothing overly special, but I don't think he has to be to have great fantasy value this year because he's no longer with the Vikings. He's on the Saints, and Mark Ingram's gone, so he vacates that invaluable big back role. And with that, there's always going to be 10-plus touchdown upside. We've seen Ingram feast. Ingram was just the RB5 2 years ago as the second fiddle to Alvin Kamara. So this offense generates scoring chance after scoring chance, and Murray's always been a beast in short yardage. He ranks only behind Todd Gurley in rushing TDs, 32 from 2015 to 2018. Actually leads the league in short yardage rush attempts over that span as well. So coaches have kind of recognized this guy is a short yardage monster. They've recognized that he gets the job done, and Sean Payton goes out and signs him because they're losing their big back. To me, that's kind of a perfect aligning of the stars. And then you bake in the fact that if the unfortunate, and pray to God it doesn't happen, but Alvin Kamara goes down, you're talking about a potential top 3 style workhorse. This offensive line is unbelievable run blocking. The overall offense is unbelievable. So he's got that standalone value because of the touchdown upside. And then he brings also that handcuff, like insane handcuff upside if Alvin Kamara ever goes down. We talk about handcuff with benefits. There's not one better out there than Latavius Murray, other than the other guy we're about to talk about after him.
I agree. I was a little harsh on Latavius Murray, but actually the next guy I think is much more of a bargain, and I don't know how much of a bargain he's going to be by the time the draft rolls around. We'll see. I feel like people are paying attention, or if they're paying attention, this guy's not going to hang around for too long. And, of course, I'm talking about Darrell Henderson, 73 overall, 39 spots higher than the experts, 14 spots higher ADP. This is, we talk about handcuff with benefits. This is the guy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Murray is as good as it comes from a handcuff from benefit perspective, but this guy, even better. Darrell Henderson. And the guy we talked to on Monday, I keep alluding to this incredible interview, had a conversation with Sean McVay, if that actually, helps kind of paint a picture for the type of guy we talked to. And McVay told him this was the most explosive player in the draft, the most explosive offensive weapon I've seen in years, and he made sure to go out and get him. So generally when you have explosive talents like that in elite offenses, that's most often fantasy football gold. And the Rams obviously have been in anything other than elite. They've been everything but. It's just insane. First in points, 29 at the McVay's first year. Second in points last year, they were even better, 32.9 points. It was just because the Mahomes show came to town last year. So insane offenses that has only gotten better in 2 years under McVay. And he thinks that Darrell Henderson's the most explosive player in the draft. I'm going to listen to that. I'm going to definitely go after this guy. 1,909 yards on only 214 carries gives him the FBS record for 8.23 yards per carry. He had the most plays of 40 yards and 50 yards with 14 and 12 respectively. And sure, he might just be what's that? No,
I'm just the numbers. I've heard them
insane?
Before. They're ridiculous. I mean,
it's crazy.
It doesn't make any sense that the numbers you're reading are real.
Yeah, I know.
But
the guy, he's just a ridiculous, explosive freak that, yeah, sure, he might be in a change of pace role, but it doesn't need to be changed that much for this guy to yield huge stats. We talked about yesterday on the roundtable, the Rams have 433 backfield points in fantasy over these last 2 years under McVay. He would only need 30% of that to yield value with what he's doing, and he's going to definitely have at least 30%. He's already been called the next Kamara by their GM, which Sean McVay agreed with. The GM like bang the table. We got to trade up for this guy. If we don't, we're going to play him. We're going to feel it. This is the Kamara element. And he's been talking all offseason how he needs that kind of Robin to Todd Gurley's Batman. He goes out and makes sure to go get him. And the reason why it's also so perfect isn't just because it's an explosive talent and an explosive offense. The scheme is so perfect. They run a zone blocking, outside zone-based game with the Rams, and that's what Memphis ran, where he came from, and he just dominated to perfection. He had led the college football. I gave you those insane yards per carry stats. He led college football with 10.7 yards per carry on outside zone runs. He got a first down every single time they did a zone run on average. No team deployed those runs more than the Rams did last year. So it's just a perfect fit from a running perspective. He's a great receiver. It's just everything seems so beautiful. I don't understand how this guy isn't a lock in everyone's round 6-7 plans.
I mean, and that means if he got stuffed on one of those zone runs, the next one is going for 22.
It's right. It's crazy. It's insane to average 10 yards per carry on any type of carry, but that's what they run.
I mean, quarterbacks don't average that per attempt.
No.
A lot of them, right?
It's insane. So this guy, he's incredibly talented, going to the perfect fitting scheme. Everybody, he agrees. His college coach agrees. McVay, they're all calling him the perfect fit here. Why wouldn't you want a perfect fit in the league's most explosive offense outside the Chiefs? To me, it's a no-brainer.
All right, that's going to wrap up our bargains. We hope you heard 1 or 2 or 6 or 10 guys that you're just like, yeah, man, I got to go for him. I got to put him on my outside list. This is what makes the Road Street Journal draft such a bitch, by the way. Because we're all listening to the same thing.
I know. It's getting brutal, too. It's like locally, in Beverly, a lot of people have found our site at this point, of course, from friends or hearsay. And everybody kind of knows who we're after. And it ends up working out. I'm not saying we hit 100 by any means. Nobody does. But I'd say we hit pretty damn well. So, like Mahomes last year, I'd get him in almost every draft, except the ones that knew Roto Street Journal. Or it's one of those things. That's the one kind of thing I don't like about the job is when your guys are suddenly, public air among your friends and the people you're facing. It becomes a crap show. Yeah, Road Street Journal, the first quarterback will go in round 8. I've never seen that in any other draft, but they all know you don't draft a quarterback.
Oh man, we creeped so long last year on the quarterbacks. I don't know. And then I got
Deshaun Watson in round 9. I was like, I always talk about waiting on a quarterback, but Watson's my number one guy, and he's here in round 6. I
always end up with Rivers or Roethlisberger in the 9th or 10th round. That always happens.
And it never.
And I'm fine at quarterback. I'm fine at quarterback.
Yeah, so I know it is so tough drafting against the RSJ guys. That's why I love our site though. We got some sharp minds here.
Sharp minds reading all the same source material, man.
Yeah,
that's brutal. All right, we're gonna wrap things up right there. You got any social media you want to pump up?
As always, rotostreetjournal.com is our home base. ffbdpod.com is our podcast home base. And if you want to get the show notes for this episode, get all the articles that are referenced here, then you make sure to visit ffbdpod.com/89 will be the episode show notes for this one. Me personally, I'm at RotoStreetWolf on Instagram. We got Roto Street Journal for our other main bases of Instagram and Facebook, Roto ST Journal on Twitter, Roto Street Wolf on Twitter. So make sure you find me on all your platforms. The following has been growing, and I love all the interactions that have coming up. And the last thing that I want to plug, we might have a pre-roll in here already, but the Fantasy Offseason Bible, I've spent the last 3 months writing this motherfucker. It's 150 pages. It's insane. It's not your kind of skim, just CVS style magazine, but this thing is loaded with every single thing that happened this offseason, everything you need to know. It's the perfect place to launch your 2019 draft prep. If you're listening to this, you probably have already started. You're probably a hardcore wolf, but even still, I've updated it with tons of new nuggets and whatnot. If you're an RSJ fan, if you appreciate the work we do, I'd love you to take a look at that. rotostreetjournal.com/offseason is where you can find that. The off-season Bible. It would mean the world to me if you guys could check that out and leave a review and whatnot.
All right, guys. My name's Nat the Truth Jones.
And I'm the Wolf. Until next time, see you guys.
Later. All right, man. That was good. Getting a few in the bank. So you don't need this one done today, right? Because I just dropped this morning.
No, we're thinking we want to have maybe sometime this weekend whenever.
I can do it fast. I mean, I could get it done today if you needed me to, but it sounds like you probably don't. So
no, it doesn't really matter. If you do it today and we drop it today, great. But there's no rush.
If I get it done today, you want to drop it today?
I think so, because I'd love to have. This would seem like a pretty solid episode. It'd be good to have a couple good ones in the bank, and then Schefter, and then a couple good ones after him too. So like a Schefter sandwich kind of thing.
What if I dropped it for the evening commute? What if I drop it at 3 or 4? or do you want it?
Yeah. I think that sounds good. If you can have it done for there, then let's do it.
I mean, I could like hammer it out now, maybe have it done around noon. That would be tough, but I could do it if that's when you want it. But I mean, I'm sure I could do it for the evening commute if you want. What do you...
Either one. Yeah. Whenever you get it done, just let us know. If you get it done now, great, but don't like stress yourself out. I think the evening commute is more than okay.
I'll tell you what. I'll text you and CJ when I have it done, and just tell me. I mean, shoot a description of.
Yeah.
Just tell me when to drop it, and I'll try to get it done.
All right, I'll do the description right now.
All right, man. See you.
All right, see you, dude.